It costs us more than 2 million euros worth of orders.
All right.
So I am
a lot of money.
I am some guy from Nigeria. I have never held 2 million in my life.
Yeah.
And then I'm responsible for losing this much money.
Coding Buddies, dein Podcast rund um Softwareentwicklung und aktueller Tech-News. Herzlich willkommen.
Hallihallo und schön, dass du wieder eingeschaltet hast hier zum Coding Buddies Podcast zur neuen Folge mit mir, dem Fabi und natürlich auch dem Tino, den ich hiermit herzlich begrüße.
Moin, moin Fabi, was geht ab?
Tino.
Wieder mal eine neue Folge, Podcast-Time. Ich hoffe, dir geht's gut. Bist du bereit? Bist du fit?
Mir geht's gut, ich bin am Start. Ist ein bisschen warm gerade aktuell, also zumindest in meinem Zimmer. Aber egal.
Das ist ja nichts Neues.
Das ist nichts Neues. Lass uns auf jeden Fall mal reinstarten. Und zwar, Tino, was machen wir heute? Was passiert heute? Hau doch mal raus.
Ja, wir haben heute wieder eine Interviewfolge. Und zwar auch wieder mal eine ganz besondere. Und zwar haben wir den Anthony eingeladen, beziehungsweise Anthony kam auf uns zu und hat gefragt, ob wir mal zusammen quatschen wollen, ein Interview machen wollen. Und da haben wir natürlich gesagt, ja, das machen wir auf jeden Fall. Die Erfahrung eines Senior-Developers ist immer herzlich willkommen. Das Besondere dabei ist, dieses Interview wird auf Englisch sein. Das heißt, es ist ausnahmsweise mal eine Folge in Englisch und deswegen wundert euch nicht, wenn ab sofort dann Englisch gesprochen wird. Wir haben es angekündigt. So yeah, let's switch to English and highly welcome our guest, Anthony. Anthony, welcome to our podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
It's a good day here in Berlin, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. So you are in Berlin right now. Last time we wrote, you were in the States, right?
I was a speaker at a conference in Montana talking about a JavaScript framework called HTMX. But yeah, that's another interest of mine.
Really cool. What was this for conference? Can you, the name of the conference?
The name of the conference was Big Sky Conference, but it's really just about HTMX, which is it's a new way of building interactive web applications without React or any of these frameworks.
Yeah, you told us about this.
You need to check it out.
But before we talk about specific technical things, would you like to introduce yourself a bit so our listeners can know you better and what was your way into the world of software development? Because you went not the typical way of a software developer. Can you tell us about?
So I'm based out of Berlin. I've lived here for almost 7 years, and but I'm Nigerian, so I'm from Nigeria in West Africa. So I'm a software engineer, the founder of a project called API Toolkit, a monitoring web application and API monitoring platform. I guess that is me. About how I came into tech. So I've been a developer for a little bit over 12 years and maybe a little longer depending on how we define programming. But I think my first exposure to coding, that I guess if that's the longer definition, depending on let me calm down. But how I got exposed to software was actually as a teenager in Nigeria. We used to use this browser called Opera Mini. And at the time, because we didn't have as much money and you want to access the internet without paying too much. So it was a thing that you learn how to mod this browser.
Okay.
So you can, depending on how you mod the browser, you would be able to use the internet for free. It's not the most glamorous introduction to tech, but that was my
Yeah, but
first
it's a good
exposure.
reason, so.
Exactly. So that was the first, but that was not properly programming. That was like you get this jar files. This was on mobile phones, right? Symbian phones at the time. So you get these jar files and try to decouple it. So it wasn't properly like coding something from scratch. I didn't really know much about the web or anything like that until after my secondary school, which is same thing as high school, I guess, where just during that break, or maybe my final year before of high school, I got exposed to HTML. And how I got exposed was that I was just bored. On one day, I was at home. I didn't know what to do, so I started browsing around my computer, our family computer at the time. On Windows, then you could press F1 and you would get this help files, which is like a document that was always on the computer. We didn't have internet at the time, at least on the computer. But in these help files, there was all kinds of things. There was some introduction to HTML, and then there was also ASP tutorials. So Microsoft had this mini programming languages at the time called VB scripts and JScripts. And you could, if you knew what you were doing, you could just open Notepad and write that script in there and use the script to control your computer. So I would write these mischievous scripts, like viruses, sort of mini viruses for my friends. And it was always this kind of script where I would send it to a friend, and when they open it on their computer, because they wouldn't know, they're like, what is this? They open it, and it starts writing, I am stupid in every editor. So anywhere that you can put input, you'll just see, I'm stupid. So
And they didn't know what to do, I guess.
Yeah, you have to restart the computer.
What happens?
Yeah. But it was just, teenager just, having fun and messing around with friends. I got properly into, so at the time also out of boredom, I started to learn HTML and ASP on this Microsoft help files thing. I got pretty far. I think I had a pet project to build a social network for my class, for my my classmates. I was very inspired by Zuckerberg at the time, and I built this thing. I used this as a tool to learn HTML, to learn ASP, and when I wanted to put it online, so of course my friends can access it, I realized that you need to pay for a license to use ASP. And I was in Nigeria, I wasn't like the wealthiest person in Nigeria at the time. Why would I pay for a Microsoft license just to host some toy project?
Yeah.
And that I started to Google, okay, how do people actually, put things online? And then I realized that actually PHP was a thing, and I didn't know about PHP because I learned everything from these Microsoft help files. But when I found PHP and that you can host for free without any license, I was like, open source, here I come.
Yeah.
So I learned.
So you started
PHP.
to learn PHP.
Yeah, and this was already
Crazy.
like 13, 14 years ago.
It's been a while since I.
Yeah.
Exactly. Since then, I went after admin. We all grew, right? So my toy project didn't really kick off. but when I was in university, I had a lot more fun. Where, like in my first year in university, I had one of our lecturers ask me to build a website where he could put past questions, these exams, past questions for students. And that was really fun because then I started to become popular amongst the lecturers in the university. Oh, also, I didn't study computer science. So when I got into university, I went in to study medicine, laboratory medicine.
That would be my next question, because I want to ask if you also studied computer science, but okay, you didn't.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, software was not a job. Like, I didn't know, at the end of the day, you aspire to the things that you know about.
Mm-hmm.
In my hometown of Calabar in Nigeria at the time, I didn't know anyone who was a software engineer. I didn't know it was possible to be a software engineer. I just knew people who were doctors and lawyers and,
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, my dad is a doctor, or at least he's a professor of malariology, which is like, I don't know, malaria, but in the medical field. And so I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. It's only when I got into university that it became clear to me that, I could actually make money doing this.
So all the time you programmed or coded on your own in your private time. So beside the study. And then start working for the university and earn the first money, or was it just for free?
I think I did a lot of things for free. When you're young and you're trying to learn, you just want. If someone says, "Oh, can you do this?" You're like, "Yeah." Can you fix my printer? Sure. Yeah. So I did a lot of things for free, and it's those things I did for free that helped me, get the things that actually made money. I think in my first year, I got introduced to some kind of computer academy in my state.
Okay.
And when I went, I was actually shocked. There's actually a computer. I didn't know all these things in that city. Yeah. But when I went, I spoke with the owner of the place, and I was like, yeah, that I actually know how to code. And he was like, yeah, right. So he gave me a website. I don't remember what website it was, and told me, okay, take this website and go and write it, go and rebuild it, and then bring it to me. Like, just give me a couple hours. Because he was just like humor me, right? He did not believe that it's possible. And I just sat down and I coded the website and brought it to him, and he was like, already? And I got a job instantly. And I was like a 14-year-old kid or something. And he was like, yeah. And I was teaching people who were way older than me web, HTML and CSS and JavaScript at the time.
So no one told you where you can find information about HTML or PHP or something else. So you discovered everything on your own.
I mean, in that city, there was no one there are not very many people who were exposed to this topic at the time.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
What I think about is that I know a lot of people who didn't study computer science and really struggle to start a job in the IT world. And this is so crazy because you have had this job at an age of 14. That was your first job. But where or when do you start the next job, or the job where you say, this was my first really big tech job? So this would be interested in how
like a professional, or what you mean?
Yeah, right. So because maybe it was at the age of 14, but maybe not.
That was like a kind of a mini job kind of thing, right? Yeah. So I mean, after that, I got into university. I of course had to learn medicine, but and I just kept building things on I always had some kind of side projects, always. So usually maybe I'm trying to build that social network, or I'm trying to build, I think it's also the time I was trying to build a website for linking like people who do odd jobs, like handy jobs, electricians. So I always had all those projects. Obviously, none of them ever became a business, because I was like some, 15, 16-year-old. I didn't know anything about business. I just wanted to build something. So I kept doing that, and it was during my first or second year, I think second year in university. I started university a bit early as well. I think I started university at 15.
Ah, okay. Wow, crazy.
It's not too crazy in Nigeria. I know it's crazy in Germany.
Okay. In Germany, it would be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. In Germany, everyone is always surprised, but in Nigeria, it's usually around 16 for most people. So I was just maybe 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think by the time I was like 16, maybe late 16 into 17, I was a bit more involved in open source in GitHub. And I was using
Cool thing.
I started learning this language called Go.
Yes, Golang.
Yeah, Golang. And there was a database called KDB. It was created by some guys at Google. It's supposed to be a graph database. So I was just having fun messing around with this stuff. And one day, someone reached out to me asking, "Hey, like, if I would like to have a chat, have a call." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And we had a call. It was some guy in Philadelphia in the US. And he was a user of this library, which I was, messing around with and sometimes contributing to.
Oh, crazy.
And it was like he saw some of the stuff that I did, and like he just found it interesting, And when he saw how young I was, he was also like, "Wow!" So we just kept in touch, but nothing really came out of that. Then 1 year later, he reached out to me again because he was like that. He ran into an issue with the library. And then when you went to the GitHub to Google, when you Google the issue, the first issue he saw was from me. And so he was like, "Oh, I know this guy." So we had a call again, and they asked me if I want to join and work for the company. And I was like, "I mean, this is a company in the US. I'm in Nigeria. Yeah, of course I want."
Okay. And how did it work? So how did you go there? So what happened?
Just remotely. Yeah. So
remotely.
This company,
all right. Okay.
The cool thing is that this company was building software for the US police. So I was actually subcontracting for the US police right from Nigeria.
Yeah, crazy.
And I found it really cool. I still find it cool. And that was my first proper job. Yeah.
And the remote work worked in a good way.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And how long you worked at this company? Remote?
I think it was maybe like 2 years thereabouts.
Okay.
Yeah. I was still in school. I think I was there till maybe my 4th or 5th year in university.
Yeah.
And of course, in the meantime, I also was I was just doing things for people around me. I eventually built some software for my local government, the state government where I was. For example, there was a software used in managing commercial taxis and commercial drivers. So I built that. I was actually exploited for that project because the guy was like, "You can code. You want to do this?" And he gave me just gave me basically like pocket money, And then eventually I found out that he got a lot of money for that project. But I did this kind of things. So during my final year, or just after, at the point where I was ending my bachelor's in laboratory medicine, of course, it was now more important to figure out, okay, what do you want to do after university?
Yeah.
And just around that time, there's a company called Opera. I think their browser company. Actually, the browser that brought me into tech.
I want to ask the browser thing, like Firefox, but Opera.
Did you apologize for the modding?
No, I don't think they cared very much. But so they were coming into Africa. They wanted to start a payment company, and they were using this Go programming language.
Okay.
And at the time, there were not very many people who use Go. So this was, I think, 2017 now.
Oh, crazy!
There are not very many Yeah, there are not very many companies that use Go in Nigeria, or even any
Yeah.
companies actually that use Go. But I had been, because I was working remotely and doing all these things, I already had this Go experience. And someone just found me on the internet, and I was like, "Hey, like we're starting this project in Go. Would you like to, join?" And I was like, it was not in my hometown now; it was in Lagos, which is the business capital of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, I'm just about graduating, and I already get a job. Sure."
Let's
So
go.
yeah, so I moved to Lagos, and from there I eventually moved to Germany to work at Delivery Hero, and now I am still in Germany.
Okay. Before we go to your Delivery Hero story, I would like to hear what was your were tasks at Opera. So what did you do there? Are you doing some front end stuff, or I don't know, back end server stuff, everything full stack? So what were your tasks there?
It was everything. So we had a team that was split between engineers in Norway, and so actually in Sweden. The team I worked with specifically was mostly in Gothenburg in Sweden, and then in Nigeria. So in Nigeria, I was the only one who had previous experience in Go. Every other one, they knew
Crazy.
maybe Node.js or some other tech stack, but they didn't know Go. So half of my job was actually, just answering questions and showing people, hey, like you can do it like this. But I did everything. I was just a software engineer,
Mhm.
and we would usually build everything from end to end. And
Okay.
one of the tasks that I'm most proud of there was the USSD functionality. So maybe I can explain what USSD is. On every mobile provider on your phone, you can dial star something 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 star 555 star hash
Yeah.
to
Yes.
perform different actions. Now I know in Europe this is not very popular, maybe because of the internet penetration, but in most of Africa, this is the primary way we, for example, interact with our bank. So if I want to send money to you, I would do star 737 star your account
Okay.
number star the amount hash, and that would automatically
okay.
send the money to you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I had to implement this functionality for OP. So I had never done this before. Actually, the engineering manager at the time, he had started working on this, but of course, he's an engineering manager in a company with so many people. He just did not have the time, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I think I'm actually very happy that he trusted me enough to say, "Oh yeah," because I asked him, "Hey, like you've been working on this, should I, work on it?"
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And
So I have a question, just really personal, from my side, because of my interest. Did you wrote tests, software tests, at this time, or not? Just because I know that this is
because it
sometimes the
sounds
struggle.
very security critical when it's about transferring money.
Exactly. So it's a company culture thing, like when I was building my own project, usually I would not write tests. Don't tell my mom.
So I think that's not a problem, because in the past I also didn't this. So, but now I learned better, and I write tests right now. But I know the struggle with writing tests, especially when I started with computer science.
It's also a how do I put it? It's about our approach. If you think of tests as a way of thinking about what you're doing, then you probably would write tests earlier, because you're using it to think about, oh, am I doing what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
But if you think of tests as only, oh, I've done something now, I want to write test to make sure it doesn't break, then you want to do that test at the end, which you might forget to do, or might not be a big priority.
Yeah. I know this.
Yeah, it's a question of the mindset of the developer, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So Tino and me are doing, we work together and we are doing test-driven development, so writing the test first and then implementing later.
Okay.
So every time we ask about tests.
Yeah, this is why I asked us.
I mean, you said it yourself, right? So you're using the test-driven development, that you're using the test to think about what you
Yes, right.
So now
Exactly.
So the test is for thinking, not for testing.
Yeah, right. To define the behavior of your software, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but cool. Very interesting to hear what you did there. And what was your job after the Opera company?
So after Opera, so Opera got bought, or at least this payment product got bought by a Chinese company,
Mhm.
and around the same time, I had the team, the engineering leadership, asked me if I would want to move to Sweden. So,
Okay.
so that already made me, think about Europe a little bit more, because before then I didn't really think much about Europe.
Mhm.
So I was like, Sweden. So I was considering it, and then I get a message from some guy called Danilo, who was an engineering, or like a VP of engineering or something like that at Delivery Hero at the time.
Mhm.
And so he reached out to me. I founded the Golang Nigeria organization.
Mhm.
I mean, when I started Go, no one used Go, right? So I had to do something. And now it has maybe 2,000 members. But
Okay.
so Danilo now at Delivery Hero was looking to hire Golang developers because so Delivery Hero, their system was in PHP. They had a lot of legacy stuff, and they were trying to scale. So they were acquiring companies in Asia, in Hong Kong, Taiwan.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about the Asian market, launching in one city can break your servers because there's just so many people.
Crazy.
And so they were having scalability problems, and the conversation about Go was coming up. So I had an interview right from Nigeria. Okay. No, we had an interview and it was nice, and then I don't know, it just very chill. Actually, they didn't even have Go experience. The guys who interviewed me, because it was all PHP. So they were like, I was like, okay, I've not written PHP in, I don't know, like at the time, maybe 4 or 5 years. So I don't really know PHP anymore. And they did not really know Go. So they were like, okay, you know what? You can Google everything. Just write PHP, you can ask me questions, you can Google stuff, but let's just stop it in PHP. And we did that, and it worked. And they were like, okay.
And then you got the job.
Yeah, and I never wrote one line of PHP in that job. I moved. So when I joined, I led moving one service to Go, and that service did so well that all the other teams were like, okay, we want to do the same. And then now almost everything is in Go.
Crazy, yeah. So Go is a big thing for you. So what I heard about from you. Is it your favorite language, or is it just something you do because you need to do it, or from the past?
At least it opened the door to the software development. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think PHP and ASP opened the door, but Go definitely. It's the reason why I'm in Germany right now, to be honest. So,
Okay.
I think if I wasn't doing Go, Danilo or Delivery Hero would not be interested. So it's not my first love, but it's immediately I learned Go. Let me explain it like this. Before Go, I would use Django in Python and the others. So this framework, they do so much for you, or at least they did so much for me, that I was very far from the details of how the server works, what's really going on under the hood. You just follow the tutorials of the framework. But when I learned Go, it kind of, at the time also Go didn't have all these frameworks, so you have to do everything from scratch. And doing things from scratch forces you to understand, okay, how does HTTP work, for example?
Yeah, right.
So it made me a better programmer at the time. Now I do other languages, but Go is still in my heart.
Yeah, that's fine.
So personally, I never coded anything big in Go, so I'm not experienced in that. What would you say are advantages of this language? So what would you tell me why I should code in Golang?
What language do you code in right now?
We are coding in TypeScript, Node.js. It's our current project, and before I coded several years embedded, so in C and C++. So that's my hometown. So yeah.
Honestly, I don't think there's that many advantages. At the time, also, I don't think Node.js was even really a thing. It wasn't as popular as it is now. Yeah, I think so. Or maybe I just wasn't very aware of, JavaScript on the server as much. But compared to JavaScript, I preferred Go because the whole thinking about types. But now that there's TypeScript, I can't really say the same thing because even in short, I think TypeScript types might even be more expressive than Go types, if I'm being honest. So types is no longer an argument in favor of Go. But in terms of performance, it's also a tough argument depending on what you're building. Now, you need to understand that for me, when I got into Go, I had a hammer and everything looked like a nail to me. So anything you want to build, go. I actually worked in a company. We had like a small project where we even raised some funding in Nigeria. And it was a mobile app for distributed mesh networking. Guess what we used? Go. So of course, like Go, you can't build the entire app in Go, but we would do the UI in like I don't know, Java at the time, and then but the business logic and networking and everything was a Go shared library that the Java would call. So it was overkill. Don't do this, but that's what I did. But to answer the question, actually, the benefit of Go is mainly performance.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Right.
Yeah, it's close to the machine, and so your systems can be fast. But if you're building web applications, you don't get these benefits as much.
Okay,
that's the problem. So that's why I can't even say, oh, everyone should go do Go, because for most web things, your bottleneck is usually the database, not your app.
No.
So yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So an old colleague of mine gave me a little introduction in Go some years ago, I would say. And I think this was what was really cool, but also a little bit strange because Go was also an unknown language to me. And something came in my mind that I thought, this sounds strange. But it's just different, but I think it's a cool language, so definitely look.
One thing maybe that I should mention, and a benefit of Go, is that Go is, as a language, is very, very simple. If you remember at Delivery Hero, I was the only one with Golang experience. Every other person came from like the JavaScript world and the Java world. And within 2 weeks, everyone was pushing code to production. So that's how simple. Like I also write Rust, for example, and I have been writing Rust for 3 years. Sometimes I have no idea what I'm doing. It's just so complex.
It's become very popular, Rust. Right?
Yeah, but it's not a simple language, especially compared to Go. You can't learn Rust in 2 weeks, but you can learn Go in 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay, crazy. But so would you say you can learn Go in 2 weeks, but if you have a knowledge of software development, right? Or if you say you have no idea about software development and then you can learn Go in 2 weeks, would be hard, I think.
I think to be hard. There's so much you need to learn first. but
all the basics.
but I think you would be fine. because it's you. Of course, 2 weeks you won't be building the next Facebook in 2 weeks, but because the language is simpler than TypeScript, for example, you can get very far since what you've been learning is programming and not the language itself.
Yeah. So what I said as the colleague gave me an introduction, we wrote a little certificate update stuff for a website for a secure connection for your website with Go, and this was really simple and fast forward, but it was just a new experience for me programming with Go. But what you said, so I would agree to you to say, if you have some knowledge, then it's totally fine to learn or go into the language Go.
Go into Go. Yeah, because Fabi and me think a long time now about take a deeper look into Go. So it's really awesome that you have the experience and can tell us, yeah, guys, do it. Go into Go.
For you, I mean, you both are very experienced engineers, so it would be like, you would learn it in 1 weekend even. And I think as an engineer, you need at least 3 languages in your toolkit. And I think one of them is JavaScript. You need to know JavaScript because you would eventually need to do something on the web, on the browsers, and you must know JavaScript for that. And then you need some language to use on the back end, but you also need a language that you can use for like lower level things or things that require performance. And Go is that language. So of course you can also say C++, like Tino, you already know C++, so you're covered. But C++ is very hard. It's a very difficult language to learn.
We know that.
I can confirm this. Me too. But it's a really good advice to say you need all these kinds of languages. JavaScript because it's so
the web thing.
Everyone uses it. Yes. Then an all-round language.
Yes.
It's also good, and low-level language. That's a really good advice to know at least one to be able to code something low-level stuff. That's thanks for the advice. That's really good.
Anthony, have you ever coded in Kotlin?
Oh, Kotlin is my favorite language that I have never coded in. I've read a lot of Kotlin. I have some friends here who are all mobile developers, and every time they show me code, and I see this fun everywhere. So I'm like, I would like to write fun every day.
Kotlin is just about fun. No, but I coded in Kotlin around about 2 years or 3 years, I don't know. But it's really a cool language, and I can recommend it. So if you need some kind of what you said, so backend, maybe if some listeners of us are say, okay, I'm coding in Java and I'm familiar with Java, then it's really a good idea to try Kotlin. Also for you,
take the next step.
My favorite thing about Kotlin, again, I don't write Kotlin, but I'm exposed to it. And my favorite thing is there's a big functional programming influence on the language, which I really like.
Yeah.
And there's this library called arrows in Kotlin, and every time I see this library, I'm like, oh, we need this in Go. Why don't we have this in Go?
But that's true what you said. So I really was at first time I really was so how I code this in Kotlin, and then after some months I said, oh, okay, we can do this in a functional way. It's really a cool thing. Yeah, I like it too. This is a cool thing. So just try it, Anthony.
I will. It's on my bucket list for sure.
Very good.
So we try Go and you try Kotlin.
It's a good deal.
That's the deal.
Nice.
Okay, let's come back to your way to Germany. The delivery hero, was it right?
Yes.
Okay. You wrote us on the first mail that you worked there, so we already know this, and you discovered an API incident there. Is it right?
So when I moved, I had to migrate. We had to build a new service in the company called search and discovery service. Actually, we called it Watson in the company, code name. And,
From Sherlock? Or?
we also had Sherlock.
Nice.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the old service was called Sherlock, and we wanted to write a new service called Watson.
Nice.
So and why we're doing this is because the old service was this PHP monolith, so it was like one big. I think it was Symfony. No. I don't remember, one of the popular PHP libraries. And every Sunday, there would be some downtime just because we had hit the limit of what the system could handle. And on Sundays at noon, we would be hitting our peak, and we're growing every week. Every week we're growing.
Everyone wants food on Sunday, right?
yeah, exactly. Sunday noon, almost every week, everyone is like, on call, like just waiting because we're afraid that something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah.
And so we decided, okay, can we take like the hot part, and if you think about a food delivery product, what the first page it's a funnel. The first thing everyone does is they try to find the food that they need before they go on to order it or whatever. And this first step needs to be able to handle that traffic. So that's the search and discovery product that we're gonna write. And the approach we went was, can we write it to be exactly the same as the old one? So there should be no change. So it should be like we swap it and nobody noticed that we swapped it. And we were very careful about this. We wrote the new service as a proxy, so that every new traffic goes through the new one, but goes directly to the old one. And then, and that means that, of course, now the new service is handling traffic, but it's just not doing anything. So we could then pick one endpoint at a time, or one of the important endpoints, and then move only that endpoint. So for that endpoint, instead of proxying it to the old one, we would just handle it on the new service. And we did this for a few of the endpoints. But for the biggest endpoint, the one that's going to be the real big deal, we're very, very careful. We wrote this logic. We kept it on staging for a couple months even, I think. So, we had this like diffing logic where we would, when the traffic comes, we'll make the call to our own new service, our new logic, and then also make the same request to the old one and compare to make sure that they're exact. And we ran this in staging for a couple months. Everything was perfect. Everything was good. All the tests. We wrote all the tests we could. We had all the observability. We had Datadog. We had New Relic at the time. Yeah, we were trying to move between New Relic and Datadog. But we had, and these are not cheap. We're paying, we're paying a lot. Let's say we're paying over $1 million for. That our bill was over $1 million for this monitoring tools.
Yeah, crazy.
But when we rolled out to production, we deployed the day we enabled everything. We rolled it out, enabled the feature flag. We went to go test quickly. Is everything working? Everything was working. We're like, we did it! We're so happy.
Yeah. After all this time.
Yeah, we did it. And so we all forget about it. Everything's working fine.
Yeah.
And then I got a call that our revenue, we had this tracker that tracks the company revenue, had gone down.
Oh, okay.
And
what happened?
And this was my first real project, like major project in this company. So, and I was like the one who's doing this thing. So you don't want your first real project to go crazy. So I was like, oh my goodness, what have I done? How? Like, if this thing was working, what's wrong? And it took us some time to find out the issue. So even with all these observability tools, they didn't really help at all. And why it was difficult to find out this issue is that the server was not down. The server was returning 200. Okay, just returning data. Everything was perfect from the perspective of our existing monitoring. But from the perspective of the apps and the users, in some of the countries, specifically in Scandinavia, everything was not all right. And that's because in Scandinavia, they had this requirement. I don't remember, it's been a couple years already. But food delivery brands have to return the dietary details of the dish that they're selling. So like allergens, that kind of information.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all the other countries, and Delivery Heroes operates in like 50-something countries, at least at the time, they don't have this requirement. So these few countries have this requirement, and we did not test in these countries at all.
Okay, yeah.
Because you can imagine when you have 50-something countries, even if you test in 10, it's already a lot
Yeah.
to test in 10.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
so we did not, and I was like, we had to do this post-mortem where we look at the incident and figure out what could we have done better. And I really did not know what we could have done better. It's easy to say, oh, we should have just tested in all 55. But in practice, I mean,
Yeah.
if it happened again, would we really? So I started to have this conversation with my manager that it's really silly that we're paying all of this money for monitoring, and the kind of issues that matter to us, these monitoring tools can't help us catch it.
Yeah.
And so after that time, I started to notice internally within the company that a lot of the incidents that happened, where you could divide them into two categories. One category is when the infrastructure fails. That is when your database is down, or AWS is down, or this kind of big issues. The monitoring is very good for that. They're gonna just catch it all. Now you have status 500. They'll let you know. But
Yeah.
a bigger group of issues, and this was the more common issues, because AWS doesn't go down every week. So
Very unlikely.
Thankfully, even that we would know as an internet. But the more common issues would be that I want to call it like logic bugs. Some field was missing, or maybe a field that should be there is no longer there.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a field that returns an endpoint that returns the user data, and one of the engineers updated some date library, and this happened to a real company that I spoke with. Someone updates a date library, and now that fucked up one of the logic, so the date field is now empty, or the email field is now empty. But response is still returned, it's still status 200, but the data is not correct anymore, and now the apps or whatever is down. So those were the more common issues that companies face every week, and none of the existing observability tools can catch that, right? At the moment, at least. And that I started to talk, of course, I was very loud in the company, like we should be able to catch this. I'll tell my manager every day. And then he was very, Fabio is listening, but he was very supportive. And eventually I just started writing the code for it.
That's so crazy. Sometimes you can have tons of monitoring, observability possibilities, and so on, but you don't fetch the real problem, right? It's so crazy.
Even then, something bad happens. But I have a question. You said that you looked for the failure, for the error post-mortem when the shit already happened, yes? So how long did it take to know what exactly happened, and how long did it take to recover from that? Because this time from the server stopped working to recovery costs a lot of money, normally.
It cost us more than 2 million euros worth of orders.
All right.
So I am
a lot of money.
I am some guy from Nigeria. I have never held 2 million in my life.
Yeah.
And then I'm responsible for losing this much money. So it actually didn't take long, because I mean, at Delivery Hero we've put in a lot of work to being able to keep things running, and one of the policies is that it's very easy to roll back. So if you make a mistake, You can usually just click a button. There's some internal tool where you can just roll back. The challenge is the time to knowing that there's a problem.
Yeah.
Now, because the app was not down, the only indicator that this was happening was the money, the graph that actually tracks money. And obviously, if it dips enough that someone notices, then it means you've lost money, and that's why someone noticed. So that is not what you want to use in catching bugs.
True, yes.
So it took, I think it took 15 to 30 minutes. I'd say around 30 minutes.
That's a good time. So we're not talking about days. We're talking about minutes, and that's really good in my opinion. So
at the scale of
you
Delivery
were prepared
Hero,
for that. So.
At the scale of Delivery Hero, if you're down for one day,
yeah, of course, this would be really crucial.
It would be so much money lost.
Some heads are rolling then, I guess.
But how did you feel at this point of time? You mentioned this kind of money loss. What did you think in this moment?
I mean, this was 2019. I was less exposed to this kind of things as I am now. So for me, I was already panicking. I was afraid. My chest was beating. I had a cold sweat, just thinking, okay, because you're trying. You've seen. Here's another thing. You've seen that there's this order loss. You also need to know where it's coming from. Yeah. So you have like this split second to fix. Can I, pinpoint the cause of the issue so I can perform the right action? Whether it's to roll back or whether it's to do something or enable some feature flag or something. And you're panicking. I had the most amazing manager, if I'm being honest, because for him it was like, when people were coming to the team, to where we sit, to say like what's going on, he would just like keep everyone so no one even comes close to me. So he kind of just shielded everything. And to be honest, now that I'm older and I actually have to manage people, that's the kind of manager that I aspire to be. That because in that moment I'm already stressed. I was younger. There's no amount of what's going on that's gonna make me solve the issue faster.
Yeah.
He managed it very well. But for me too, I was just panicking a lot and trying.
Yeah. So I cannot imagine how I would behave in this moment. So it would be wow.
But I think
it's normal, totally normal.
It's normal.
It was also my first in the company, so I also didn't know like what is the repercussion. Am I gonna lose my job? Am I gonna get fired tomorrow? I didn't know, right?
Totally normal thoughts on that.
You already took your stuff from the desk.
Bye, guys. I love you.
All right. See you all.
With a hand, with a kiss on the hand.
You know it, Fabi.
Just joking. But have you something really important learned from this incident? So for yourself, in this after this.
Yeah, good question.
Honestly, half of it is that I learned. My manager is like how he handled it is what I learned, and I already am trying to be like him. I'm very inspired by him. But on a technical perspective, it was this kind of issues where it's tough. Like I said, if I think, what could we have done differently? Yes, we could have tested in 55 countries, but in practice, there was no takeaway that was strong. Also, this incident, this field, it was one field missing in the payload. Yeah. Just one field that was missing. And that field was missing because no one in the team around knew that it existed. Because in most countries, it's not needed. It's not in the payload, except in Scandinavia. And in this particular logic, even the product managers and the team, they had no idea that it existed. The only person whose code, if you do a git blame in the code, you would see was the person who was at the time the CTO of the company. And those are very large companies. He's a very busy man. I'm not going to go asking him, what does this do? How does this work?
Yes.
So, Yeah, so
but
there was not very much to learn out of the incident. Of course, yeah, there was a lot I learned about how to handle incidents. For example, I think Delivery Hero had a very amazing process for incidents. So, of course, first of all, you roll back and you figure out the issue, but then the culture of forcing everyone to write, how do we call it, an incident report.
yeah.
So in the incident report is basically you say, this issue happened at this time. This was the cause of the issue. This is what the user noticed. But on an engineering perspective, this is what we can see is the cause of the issue. And then to think, okay, what could we have done to prevent this? Or what can we do now to fix it? And then what could we have done to prevent it? And you write this in a document that gets shared with everyone in the company.
Yeah.
So that culture, first of all, forces you to think deeply about the issue and how to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And that is a culture that stays with me till today.
Yeah, nice thing.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like a very good culture. So there was no finger pointing or blaming. So
that's really good.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't
And
know that then, so I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But also what you said, the postmortem after this is, I think, also really important, because sometimes you have some trouble because of whatever, and after that you don't have some kind of postmortem, and you don't think about what went wrong and how went it wrong, and what is the reason because of, and so on. How can we prevent this in the future? And sometimes, out of my experience, this is often a point which is missing after that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing that you and the company did it. Really good thing.
Yeah.
But so you said what you learned from this, but at least so you're a founder of the RP Toolkit, right?
Yes, exactly.
And
so
maybe you can. I think is it comes that after this incident from Delivery Hero, and maybe you can explain what is the RP Toolkit, and yeah.
okay. So this incident was basically that the data was not in those countries. The data was not what we expected to return to the user.
Yeah.
And API Toolkit is monitoring, so it's logs, metrics, traces. But what makes it different is that it specializes on web services and APIs and looks into the payload. So that's something, if you're using Datadog or New Relic, they're not going to look into the payload to see what is there.
Yeah.
But we take this payload, the request body, the response body, and we analyze it.
Yeah.
And we analyze it. We apply a lot of tricks from cryptography, for example.
Yeah.
So we're able to build this kind of a kind of Merkle tree. Is what it's a data structure, but it's like a hash that represents. So we build this Merkle tree out of each of the possible shapes of an endpoint. And by tracking that, it means if any of the endpoint gets, a field is deleted, a field is missing, a field is wrong, this Merkle tree is going to change. And then we'll be able to know that, okay, there's something wrong here. And then we can, in our implementation, look deeply to find out why is this special, what's going on.
Yeah. And it's some kind of service, right?
Yeah.
So you can easily use, yeah.
Exactly. So it's a SaaS and on-premise thing. Like you can use it as a cloud solution for monitoring, or run it on your own infrastructure.
Okay.
To monitor your APIs.
Yeah, I think this is sometimes really a thing to have this on premise for some companies, because if you say you analyze the payload and so on, then so I have made the experience.
It's better to provide both solutions.
Yeah. So also, I think New Relic is also doing it, or you can hide some data for New Relic. So this is sometimes really a thing for companies, but it's some kind of trade-off. So because you want to have a good monitoring, a good observability about your whole software, your whole application, but on the other hand, the companies say, But don't look in our data.
We actually have, even in the cloud option, we have this ability to redact sensitive data. So you can give it, there's something called a JSON path, which is a way of describing like a field, a nested field, for example, in your JSON, and all those fields would be removed on your server. So what would get on the network or what would get to API token would never have those fields that you say should be redacted. So that option already, a lot of companies, including German companies, find that useful, because at the end of the day, managing infrastructure for monitoring is not very fun. It's usually a lot of the data grows very fast. So soon you need a dedicated DevOps team just because you want to track your logs.
So it seems like API Toolkit would have been the solution Delivery Hero needed years ago, right?
Yeah, that is why I built it. I built the solution to my problem. The other half of what it is when I worked at OPay, at Opera. OPay is the name of the product. It's a fintech, it's a digital bank. So Opera payments and money.
Yeah.
And we also had a lot of incidents, maybe on a lesser scale, because but the incident they had was different. It wasn't about like our own services, but about the third-party services that they depend on. So if you operate in fintech, you cannot operate alone. Your customers are going to want to send money to another bank at the very least, or you want to process a card payment from MasterCard. So you need to, use other APIs. And unfortunately, especially in Africa at the time, but it's also true everywhere, most of the APIs in the industry are just of very poor quality. Poor quality in the sense that the engineers could, and I had this happen. This happened once where for one of the APIs we use, an engineer at the company renamed a field that was message, like MSG, to message, MESSAGE.
Yeah.
Probably a good change, probably you saw, why the hell are we calling this MSG? We should make everything standardized across the company, and then he just does it and deploys it, and he deployed it at night. So our systems were done, and I think he deployed it, maybe went back home, and then maybe at 2 a.m. realized, oh shit, something is going wrong. So he now rolls back and undoes the change. But for us as users of the API, our system was down for like 5 hours.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Some kind of breaking changes.
Exactly.
Sounds like that.
So the problem that OPay had to deal with was that we want to know when any of these third-party APIs introduces a breaking change. Okay. We also want to track them to see their performance and error rates.
Yeah.
And this was important because it helps us decide whether to switch vendors. So if I go and see, I'm using this provider for a particular service, and their response time is always 5 seconds, 10 seconds. The error rate is always 10%. And we had this where we had 2 providers. One of them had an error rate of 8%. So 8% of all transactions would fail.
Crazy.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm begging you for your money, but then I'm losing 8% of the people I'm begging for. And so if we could not see how many percentage, then you cannot improve. You cannot improve what you see. So when I was building API Toolkit, I built it to solve the Delivery Hero problem of our own APIs, something missing or something, or breaking change in our APIs. But I realized we also need to do it for third parties. Maybe you depend on third parties. Can you at a glance, in your dashboard, see every single third party API dependency that you are using in your company? And then see their error rates, see any issues, breaking changes, bugs that they introduce, at a glance, so that maybe your engineers can debug it easily. Maybe your customer support can, see everything and know what to do. Yeah, but anyway, that's basically.
Sounds really useful. Definitely so.
So
Have you had
yeah.
to debug API trouble in your career yet?
I had, yes. I had.
Was it fun?
Yeah. It's not funny. But I have a question about this service you worked for. When you depend on or your service depends on so many APIs from other companies. That's not a good how can I say situation. So what would be your fallback strategy if one API breaks some things or have breaking changes like you told us? So I guess you already have to have a fallback strategy, but when your main functionality based on these APIs, what can you do then? So that's a real problem, right?
So API toolkit, at the end of the day, we are really just monitoring. So the tool itself is not gonna help you deal with the situation. All it's gonna do is to tell you this company introduced this field or deleted this field
Yeah.
in this endpoint. That's all it's gonna do for you. But now, for you now as a developer, um, there are many techniques, right? And we have done different ones at different points in my career. For example, you could introduce a circuit breaker. So a circuit breaker is it's like a design pattern, or it's a pattern in software where
Yeah.
you can have two, maybe you have two endpoints. You have one is your primary endpoint, and then you implement a circuit breaker such that when a condition is met, it's going to automatically close up from the primary and go to the secondary automatically. In practice, how you would do this is you can say, if I have uh, uh, maybe status codes, maybe all the requests that I'm making to this API, if the status code is maybe over 10% of it is not 200, then close the circuit breaker and then use this third-party API provider instead. So that's kind of how it works.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are libraries
Yeah.
in most languages that we go. I think there's something called Histrix, which I've used in the past. Histrix, something like that. Exactly, Histrix, Hystrix for Netflix. So, but there are many libraries like this in different tech stacks where you can implement circuit breakers to handle. But at the end of the day, it means you need a fallback. You need to have, for every primary behavior, you need to have two providers that do the exact same thing, or three, so that you can fall back from one to the other as needed. The other option is that you can, if it's a very critical operation, you can. It's not always possible, but depending on your product, you can get it behind a job. For example, a job worker. And why do you do this? With job workers, it's easier to configure things like retries and what's it called, a dead letter. But the whole idea is that if you make a request, you create an event or a job for it, and the job is going to actually make the request to the third party. If it fails, you can configure exponential backup, which means it will retry. The first time it will retry after 1 second. The next try it will retry after 5 seconds. Maybe the next one will be after 1 minute. But you just keep retrying with a longer duration until it passes. Or if it doesn't pass, then you can put it in this dead letter box where an engineer can easily go and look and say, okay, why were these things failing? And either fix the issue or manually switch the provider and retry them again. So it depends on what the kind of software you're building.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. The reason why I asked, some years ago, Fabi and I developed a little music service, for private use, and it was based on the Spotify API, and we have sometimes a lot of trouble to keep it up with the API from Spotify, and so I wanted that. That's the reason why I asked about fallback strategies, because like I said, we were fucked up sometimes.
Yeah. For something like Spotify, where you likely want to call the API in real time, based on user actions, and then what you need is a circuit breaker there, not the job thing that I was talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but
Yes,
Anthony,
good advice. Thank you.
I have also a question about APIs. So, because I know some people or heard about some people that they want to build up some APIs. So, for some stuff what they want to build for themselves, or just for trying something out and so on. What would you say what are red flags building up an own API? Or maybe what are good ways to do building APIs? So maybe you have some
It
advices.
depends on the industry. It depends on, because I have a background in fintech, right, from my time at OP,
Yeah, right.
and the red flags there. Okay, we've seen things. You're bringing back my past trauma.
Sorry for that.
It's okay. We can talk about it.
Is this a safe space?
It's a safe space, right?
So, I think the worst API I have had to deal with in my career was this Chinese TV company we had to integrate with.
Mhm.
Their API is a PDF document over FTP. In other words, we use them. So how it works is that our customers come to us and say, "Oh, we want to buy a subscription for this API, for this with this TV thing." So in the digital bank, we had like other bills and services you can buy, and we would collect their money, but we don't tell these Starlink guys immediately. What you do is at noon every day, the API is supposed to, we are supposed to programmatically build up a PDF in a specific format and then FTP that PDF into their FTP address that they created for us, and then they would automatically provide the value to our customers. This is not very fun.
Yeah,
that
didn't sound
API.
to be complicated.
That is their API.
That's a new approach.
I don't know if that is a new one, but it's definitely not the future that I want to see. When I had to do this, so before I had to integrate this I don't want to mention the company, but you can, like I said, it starts with star. But when I had to integrate this, before then, I already had so much complaints about previous APIs. For example, the Nigerian interbank settlement system, their API is a SOAP. It's not even a normal SOAP because the Golang SOAP library could not pass it. So we had to write a custom passing logic to pass that XML in their SOAP API. But yes, that's what's so bad that after getting that SOAP, they give you a binary thing which you have to run using telnet.
Okay.
And then take your SOAP, pass it into that telnet socket, and you get an encrypted blob. And it's the encrypted blob which you now send to them. But so I was already very annoyed about this, and I thought this was as bad as it could get because I have to spin up a telnet thing in my server just to be able to communicate with you. But then these guys were like, "Yeah, you're gonna give us PDF," and I'm like, "Fuck." Yeah, so it can be really bad if you're doing anything, like if you're dealing with this enterprise company, because some of these companies are very old. They are like from 30 years ago, and the systems they did not change in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Is the reason that they never take the time to refactor the whole API or think about a complete new strategy? Because, if it works, it works, even if it works bad.
If it is not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, okay, that's a strategy. Yeah. Okay.
Never change a running system or something like that.
Yeah. Even if it's slow.
Even if.
But do you have some advice for some people who just started with their own API that you say, just a tip if you want to start, if you just try it out, what do you have an advice for the guys?
If I give advice, everyone is gonna say I'm a bad engineer. But I've come full circle since I started writing software, and I really think it depends on what you're doing. Yeah. If you're really just starting in your career, don't care about best practices. Just focus on actually building something that is working. And that is my belief now. Make it work. That's what they say. They say make it work. Make it fast, then make it beautiful. And then maybe make it correct at the end. So just focus on building your app. Now, of course, if you're working in an established company or working in like some fintech industry or an industry where things should actually work well, then you need to follow the practices of your industry.
Yeah.
But I can give you some examples of general API best practices. One, if there's an error, please do not return HTTP 200.
I would go with this tip. Definitely.
Fabi, you're laughing.
It's hard to say, but yes, we should mention this.
In my industry, because for the last 2 years, my industry is, I'm just dealing with APIs, right? It's just APIs from all kinds of companies and trying to. The percentage of teams that do error message failed, but then the status code is 200 is way bigger than you think.
Okay.
You're kidding us, right?
This is so crazy.
It's bigger. It's like, let's say it's closer to 50% than you would think.
Oh my god. This is crazy. So I didn't have this experience, but this is crazy. Because my first intention, if I get a response from HTTP response, then I check the status code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Common sense. Yeah,
everything is fine.
Okay.
It's common sense
good
that
advice.
is common for you, but not for the people who are building the APIs.
Yeah.
So
that's a good advice, of course.
Yeah. And then try to have it depends on you. If you're in fintech, please do not store money or send money as float. Floating point mathematics is a CPU operation that if you do it wrong, you're gonna lose a lot of money for whatever you're building.
Yeah.
I had a period where I did consulting for some fintech companies, and pretty much mostly companies from Nigeria, but pretty much all the consulting I did was companies that lost money because of floating point maths. Or it's almost always because of maths, or sometimes they would do some division and then the division is wrong. Some zeros just keep disappearing, and then all of a sudden you realize you've lost $1 million. And you're like,
But in an undetected way, so it was not clear at first why they lose money, or was it like floating types? We fucked it up.
It's usually that you do an audit, because in fintech, right, in banks, you have to do audit, and then the auditor is like, these are all the transactions you did. Where is this money? And you're like, okay, good question.
Good question.
Where is that money?
Next.
I got it.
But it's a really, really typical problem. We have, just a side note, we have a small reel format on our Instagram page where we put some code lines and tell or ask the community where are the bugs inside these small some few code lines. And a typical bug we put in is a floating type bug.
Yeah.
So everyone has to know it's a real problem.
It is. Yeah.
Not in a theoretical way. No.
Yes. And then if you operate in a space like fintech, where it's that if something goes wrong, it's expensive. Then I recommend. I mean, whether you use API ticket or not, but you can use, for example, Elasticsearch, AOK, and actually store the payloads, the request and response that you are making to these third parties. Just store it somewhere. Because it might actually be what gets you out of trouble. There are many situations where you use a third party to perform an action, and the third party returns successful, that this happened, but then that action doesn't actually happen. And now you need all of this proof to show them that, hey, this is what you told me, and I don't have it. So it's something we don't think about because it's a lot of data, it's the request, why should I be storing this? I already stored that it succeeded, or I already logged that it succeeded. But it's way too common, especially in the enterprise world, than you would like to expect.
Yeah, crazy. Sometimes it's crazy.
Yeah. Even simple things like don't return 200 okay on an error, but it's not that simple as it seems sometimes.
This is really a scary thing what you told us.
Yeah. I'm really scared right now.
half of the reason why this HTTP status code 200 problem happens is that people use libraries, use frameworks. And in some of these frameworks, it's not that easy to return a different status code. The framework by default will just return 200. And then you have to do some extra work to make it return what you want to return.
Yes.
So most developers are lazy. So we forget.
Yeah.
And that's why
forget or don't care.
Good question.
I like to think that developers forget, but not because they want to. But I think I might agree with you that most developers don't care. I just have faith on developer humanity.
All right. I have a last question for today. Because our listeners, some of our listeners are not into APIs or some advanced or other advanced topics because they're at the beginning of their software development career. So the question is, imagine you start from scratch. Because you told us your story and it was very impressive, by the way. But go back, start from scratch. What would be some advices you can give? It's a tough question, I know.
Yeah, it's hard to give advice because I'm not sure I would have followed it if I was. If I gave myself the advice.
Or let me ask differently.
No, I got the question. So maybe what I would tell people who are starting, especially people who are, for example, studying computer science, because eventually I made friends who studied computer science, and they would always complain about how everything that they are learning is not applicable in the industry. Like, they are teaching us Pascal. It's like no one does Pascal in the industry anymore. Or they're teaching us about these databases, like. Why the hell am I learning how databases work? And as someone who did not study computer science, I'm always like, goodness, how much work it was for me to learn some of these things. So you're getting it for free. Because contrary to what people think, programming is not about the language. It's not about learning how to write JavaScript or Go or, programming is those things are the tools of the trade. It's like telling a writer that writing is about holding the pen and the paper and putting ink on the page. Yes, the writer puts ink on a page with a pen, but that is not that's not writing. The writing is the skill he has put into understanding a story and a plot and all of these things. And for a programmer, it's your understanding of systems, understanding of maybe design structures, or the domain knowledge of the thing you're coding, or all of this. Programming is all of these concepts which are not very easy to learn, and the curriculum in most computer science courses are designed to teach you programming, not to teach you Pascal. Pascal just happens to be the channel that they're using to teach you programming.
Yeah. No. That's a good point. Yeah, it's not about the language.
No.
Yeah, and I also like the comparison with a writer. Maybe I have to steal this.
Feel free.
I really like it. It.
It's a cool
because
thing.
it's not about the writing itself. It's about the creative aspect, right? So, in my opinion, software development is a lot of creative work at the end.
No.
Even now that I'm I don't know. I have interest, right, in things like databases. How can I build a database, for example? And I eventually think I might build one because we're doing all of these telemetry, time series data stuff, and it's not very easy. And a lot of the more conventional data stores, they're making trade-offs that might not really fit the kind of system I'm building or the trade-offs I want to make. But because of that interest now, I have to go learn about data structures and learn about how a disk works. For example, the data structure you use for spinning disk hard drive is not the same that you would use for an SSD. So all those details I spend. They're very boring things. I mean, it's
not
true.
For you.
Even for me sometimes. I mean, now I'm really interested, so I like. But it's a lot more work to sit down and read these very boring white papers. When you are in school, you're gonna read it because you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So school is the time when you like it's an opportunity to learn this boring stuff that would be so hard to learn on your own after school. So yeah. Take advantage of it.
That's true.
Yeah. Right.
That's true.
Yes. Bobby, do you have another question, or we got late in time for this episode?
Yeah, of course. But this was a really cool interview and a really cool talk with you, Anthony.
Yes.
So thanks.
So thank you very much.
Guys, I had so much fun.
We too.
That's awesome,
Me too.
yes.
And thanks for sharing your experience and sharing your
For
stories.
all the insights.
Really cool.
Really impressive, like I said before. It's
Thanks,
really impressive.
Thanks for having me today.
Yeah. Let's stay in contact.
You're welcome. All the time.
All right. Anthony, thank you.
Okay, so I guess we end this episode normally in German, so I guess it's my part today,
Yes,
Fabi, right?
of course.
Okay, so I switched back to German. Okay, let's go. Ja, damit sind wir auch am Ende von dem Interview mit Anthony. Und ich hoffe, liebe Zuhörerinnen, liebe Zuhörer, dir hat dir die Folge gefallen. Es gab eine Menge Einblicke in seinen Werdegang und die unterschiedlichen Firmen, und gerade im Speziellen die Delivery Hero Story war extrem aufschlussreich, muss ich sagen. Oder was, Fabi? Meinst du auch?
Ja. Ich bin voll bei dir.
Und deswegen bleibt mir eigentlich nichts mehr weiter zu sagen, außer wenn dir diese Folge gefallen hat, lass doch gerne ein Like da. Schau auch mal bei Anthony vorbei. Seine Plattform werden wir verlinken, wo man ihn erreichen kann, falls du auch noch Fragen hast. Empfehle auch gerne den Podcast vielleicht 1 oder 2 Freunden. Das würde uns sehr freuen. Und ja, die Links wie immer in den Shownotes zu unseren anderen Plattformen. Und ansonsten hören wir uns beim nächsten Mal wieder. Bis dahin. Deine Coding Buddies.
Gemeinsam besser.